Hello everyone. We'll get started with our session in 2 minutes. Hello, Mr. Mehta, Jin Pat, don't know what your name is, Priyan, Preet, hello, Jai Sri Krishna. Preet, thank you very much. I don't know what you are wishing the badai for, but I'll accept it. Must be for the utsav. Okay, badai to you too. All right. Wow, what a name! The cat in Bobcat. Yamna Chat, yes, for sure. I got that. Thank you. Badai to you too. All right, the cat in Bobcat. Swayam, thanks for joining. Jai Sri Krishna. All right. We'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll get started with the topic today. Okay, our topic today is yes, Yadunath ji's utsav as well. Yes, Preet, yes. Yadunath ji ke utsav ki khub khub badai. Amit, nice to have you. What's going on, Swayam? Okay, let's see. Yeah, we are going to dive deep into the topic of what the Vedic philosophy of cosmic creation, and today we are going to compare with. Okay, today we are going to compare it with the biological cell division process. So we'll try to understand the cosmic creation as described in Vedic philosophy, and understand with the lens of the biological cell division process, kind of see the parallelism between both the processes, though not exactly same, but we'll try to see some parallelism between that, and we'll try to understand the concept. The idea is to understand the concept, not to just get bogged down into specifics of the biological cell division. So that's the whole topic. That is the topic for today. Harshil. I don't know, are you the same Harshil? The same Harshil who I who was in the same college as me? I don't know, I can't see your. All right. Okay. All right, so let's get started with our today's topic. So today's topic is the Vedic philosophy, the cosmic creation as described in the Vedic philosophy, and the biological cell division process, or specifically the biological cell and the cosmic creation. So we'll try to, as I explained earlier, we'll try to understand the cosmic creation as described in the Ved, specifically the Taittiriya Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So we are going to be very, very specific about the subject matter and a specific text that we are going to talk about, which is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and the Taittiriya Upanishad. And then we are going to understand that process in a better way by understanding the biological cell division process as well. So let me share the the cosmic creation in the Vedic philosophy is basically will concentrate on the Vallabha Vedanta, so as what Mahaprabhuji has prescribed, and the synthesized version of the the essence of the Vedic philosophy as described by Mahaprabhu Sri Vallabhacharya. So we are going to definitely take that into consideration primarily in this discussion. So let me share the picture, what I'm gonna go through, and so that you also have some reference to it. So let me share the picture here. Right. Okay. So here's the picture. And this is the picture that we are going to go through today and try to understand this in detail. What we are going to actually do in this session is we'll go step by step in each biological cell division process. And we are going to kind of compare and contrast, if you will, with the cosmic creation process as described in the Vallabha Vedanta. And I should start with a warning message that, or a disclaimer message that, hey, like the example that we are going to take today in order to understand the cosmic creation, which is biological cell division, please don't take this as literal comparison. The Brahmic cosmic creation as described in Vedic philosophy is above and beyond our comprehension, is above and beyond. It transcends the materialistic things. So the cosmic creation and the very creator of the cosmos, which we call it as Brahman, is not limited by the materialistic phenomena or any kind of biological phenomena or physical phenomena. Though that Brahman has taken different names, forms, and functions, including that it is that Brahman's different names, forms, and functions manifested into the biological cell, or the functions that we see in the physical world. Though that's the case, but what I'm trying to say is that Brahman is not limited by these materialistic physical phenomena. So whenever we try to compare and contrast, the only aim that I have is to use the materialistic phenomena as a means to explain or give an example for ease of understanding to you people. At the same time, don't take this materialistic phenomena as literally, as in the literal sense, and absolutely don't try to infer that that's how the Brahman is. So just a quick disclaimer before we start the topic. All right. So let's dive into the details of this topic. So as you can see in this picture, which I prepared for you, what I'm trying to show is this. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and the Taittiriya Upanishad, they clearly lay out the process of the cosmic creation by that ultimate reality, which is termed as the Parabrahman or Brahman. And in that, a specific verse or a specific text comes in. Specifically, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Tasmad so kamayat tasmad ekakina ramate sadvitiyam aichat sa atmanam dvedha patayat patischa patnicha bhavata. This is the verse that comes, which really describes the essence of the cosmic creation. And this is the core to understanding how Brahman manifests itself into different names, forms, and functions. So I'll explain you the meaning, but before I go there, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what I'm trying to say here and kind of give the context here. So the subject matter is that Upanishadic text, which I just said, is so kame tasmad ekakina ramate sadvitiyam aichat sa atmanam dedha patayat patischa patnicha bhavata. This is the text that we are going to compare with the biological cell division process. And so I'll give you just a quick overview of a biological cell, and then we'll start comparing how does the cell division happens, and vis-a-vis how single Brahman self-replicates itself into the cosmos, into different names, forms, and functions. same as a cell divides itself into its own replicas, exactly, or more or less on a similar fashion, not exactly, more or less in a similar fashion, the Brahman, who was singular before the creation, self-replicates itself into different names, forms, and functions. And we are going to compare that vis-a-vis and try to understand the entire process. So before we get started, a quick overview of what a cell structure looks like. A biological cell is, and specifically those types of cells which are related to the animals, and specifically the non-reproductive cells. The basic structure, I think everybody of you all would be aware of. Its basic structure is a cell has the center of the cell. Cell is a basic unit of the system, and the cellular structure consists of the center, which is called as nucleus, which is responsible for carrying the it is a central operating system, if you can say that way, in the computer terminology. It is the brain, central operating system, or central processing unit, CPU, you can say that way as well. And it also is the brain of the cell, which basically stores the DNA and RNA information or genetic information of that species or of that animal. And then you have, as you can see in this diagram, the cellular structure has a nucleus, which is a central processing unit, and then it is surrounded. It is in the location of the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is basically a gel-like structure, which hosts different types of cellular structures to support the operation of the nucleus, to support the exchange of materials in and out of the cellular structure, to kind of also support the operations of the nucleus, which is basically to form the proteins, convert the food materials into the chemical energy, and help in the metabolic process. Right. So that is so cytoplasm is the place where additional different types of cellular structures are located, which helps in this process. And then ultimately the outermost layer of the cell is called as a cellular membrane. The outer membrane and inner membrane of the cell, which basically protects the cell, and also is responsible as a gatekeeper on what comes into the cell and what goes out of the cell. It basically acts as a gatekeeper, the cellular membranes. So you have an inner membrane, you have an outer membrane, so on and so forth. So that's just a basic explanation of what a biological cell looks like. And so what happens is, we'll start comparing the cell division process with the Brahman, and how the Brahman also self-replicates, same as the cell division process also proceeds in different types of phases. The cellular division also goes through a different type of phases before a self-replicates itself into two daughter cells. And there are different types of cellular division process, including the mitotic division and the meiotic division. We're not going to go into that many details about what the differences between mitotic and meiotic division, but essentially what the basic difference between two types of division processes. The mitotic division does not replicate the cell for the responsible for reproduction. And the meiotic cell division is particularly related to the reproductive cells replication. So that's the basic difference between both types of division process. But anyhow, the division process, and another fundamental difference between mitotic division and the meiotic division is the mitotic division, it creates two different daughter replica cells with the exact replica of the chromosomes and the DNA and RNA materials. So it's as good as saying that you create two clones from the parent cell. That's the end result of mitotic division. Versus the meiotic cellular division, meiotic division cellular division process basically ends up with almost the half of the chromosomes of the parent cell. So it's not an exact replica copy of the parent cell. So that's a very high level difference between the meiotic and meiotic division. Now I'll come to that, how all Brahman also kind of shows and demonstrate the mitotic division and meiotic division when it self-replicates into the cosmos. So we'll get to that point. So now, having covered the fundamentals of what the cell is and what different types of the cellular division processes, let's start with a typical cellular division process. So the first process, the first phase of a cell division is that a cell should be potent enough, it should be charged up enough, or it should have the potential to bear the energy of the division process. So it has to bear that energy so that it can go through the division process. So it has to be ready for the cellular division. Similarly, so the cell, that specific cell is in an equilibrium state, if you will. And we can see the similar state of equilibrium in terms of the Brahman, that ultimate reality. So what you can see is, start from the left-hand side and follow the numbers. The first phase is what I'm referring to, which is the equilibrium state of that Brahman. And in Upanishads, they say Anandaika Rasa, or Asadva Idamagra Asid, or Ekameva Dvitiyam. He was only one. Ekameva Dvitiyam. It was only singularity before the creation. And what was the state of the Brahman at that time? The state of that Brahman at that time is as good as Asad. Asad does not mean non-existence, by the way. Asad means non-functional. That the state of that Brahman was dormant, non-functional at that time. What do you mean by Anandaika Rasaha? That means the composition of the Brahman, or you can say that there was not much, that there was no difference between the composition of the Brahman and the Brahman itself. Brahman was bliss and bliss is Brahman. So the Upanishad also says that Anando Brahmeti Vijanat. Brahman is Anand and Anand is Brahman. Bliss is Brahman and Brahman is bliss. There is no difference between the bliss and the Anand. It is a complete homogeneous, monolithic structure full of bliss before the cosmic creation. This is what is being represented by the first state. In the cell division terminology, that state of cell is also referred to as interphase phase of the cellular division, where the cell is in an equilibrium state. It is ready, it has all the potential to start the replication process. Same way, the Brahman was in an equilibrium state. The Brahman was in a monolithic, homogeneous state of nothing but only and nothing else but the bliss and the bliss, which is Anand, which is termed as Anand in Taittiriya Upanishad. So that is the first state. Now what happened after that? The Brahman was in an equilibrium state, was a homogeneous monolithic structure. And by monolithic I mean to say there was no division within Brahman. It was a monolithic structure of bliss without any division, without any perceived differences within that Brahman. What I mean to say is, for example, if I take my own example, I am one person. In that way, I'm singular. But then I am made out of different types of parts. Is that the same thing with Brahman? Is Brahman also made out of different parts? No. The primordial equilibrium's monolithic state of that Brahman is monolith structure. Organic monolithic structure. You can't really carve out a specific parts of that Brahman because everything was monolithic, everything was homogeneous and an organic structure. All right. Now let's move on to the second phase of the division process. What happened after that? So Brahman was dormant before. Suddenly Brahman thought, and Upanishads say, so kamayat, that he desired. He became self-aware of his bliss. And he desired immediately after being self-aware. And that self-awareness within that Brahman, that it is the bliss and he wants to enjoy his own bliss. So kamayat. He didn't desire to enjoy from an outside phenomena. He desired to relish himself. He desired to relish within. Because he became self-aware of himself. That state of tension, and by the word tension, I really don't mean a negative type of tension, which creates trouble within you. By the term tension, I really mean blissful tension, meaning something that causes you to desire. Although in case of Brahman, it is not a materialistic desire, but there is a divinely desire to play with himself, to self-play, to self-enjoy, to self-relish. And that desire is expressed as ekakina ramate. He desired, although he was singular, he became self-aware and he wanted to enjoy and relish his own bliss. And so he wanted to become, he did not want to remain one. Sa ekakina ramate. He wanted to play, but he can't play by remaining singular. He wants multiplicities in order to play with someone. Ekakina ramate. So I want you to now go to the second part, the second point in this diagram, which is ekakina ramate. The same way, the cell also goes through the similar process. When a cell is ready to self-replicate and cell division process, the first phase, or rather second phase of the cellular division process is called as prophase. In prophase, the nucleus, within the nucleus of the cell, as you can see in this diagram, there are chromosomes that consists of sister chromatids. And these chromosomes and chromatids gets revealed, predominantly gets revealed because there is an internal movement within the nucleus to start the self-replication process. That internal tension gets created within the cell also. There is a gravitational force, there is a pull that starts happening within the nucleus of the cell to start the replication. That internal pull, which is being there in the prophase phase of the cell division, is exactly that internal pull and internal tension, the blissful tension that Brahman also goes through by saying ekakina ramate. Alright, so now Brahman desired to not stay alone but to self-replicate. What happens after that? Let's see what happens after that. The third phase comes in. Now the third phase, a cell goes into the metaphase. A metaphase, in the metaphase, the spindle fibers, which causes a pulling force to the chromatids, and the chromatids gets a lot of force from the spindle fibers, and it it introduces the force on an opposite direction, and kind of injects that force within that chromatids to start forming the structure. You can see here clearly what type of structure does it form in the metaphase phase of the life cycle here, in the third phase essentially. Now that pull, that tension gets into more predominant in the third phase when we talk about the Brahman. Brahman desired to become many in the second phase, which is Ekakina Ramate, and that homogeneity, that homogeneous monolithic structure, which was purely consisting of Anand, now starts to show different manifestation of that bliss into different form of bliss. That tension, that pulling force, which is there in the metaphase of the biological cell, is exactly similar to that desire of that Brahman, which acts as a pulling force, so that bliss, that monolithic structure of the bliss, now shows of different modalities and different types of elements within that bliss that get showed up in the third phase, which is converted into Sat, Chid, and Anand. It is the bliss that gets manifested into three things now. Sat means the reality aspect, the Chid means the consciousness aspect, and Anand, which is the complete bliss aspect. So from one structure, one homogeneous blissful structure, the Brahman assumes the form where three different elements starts to appear in the Brahman because of that desire in him. Because Brahman wants to become one from many. Many from one. Because Brahman wants to self-replicate. Because of that, Brahman starts to manifest from one homogeneous structure to multiple different structures within itself, which is called as Sad, Chid, Anand. That's exactly the metaphase of the cellular division process. Now let's move on to the fourth one. The fourth phase, which is called as anaphase. The anaphase division of the cell basically clearly shows, as you can see in this diagram, the fourth phase. The fourth phase, which is called as anaphase of the cell division process, clearly shows the formation of and the separation of the chromosomes in the nucleus. The nucleus is one, but there are two different separate structures. You can clearly visualize in the diagram that they are clearly forming two different structures within the same nucleus. The chromosomes are separated out. Clear separation of the chromosomes in the anaphase phase. Exactly the same thing happens. Similar thing happens with the Brahman as well. Now the Brahman decided to become one to many, so the monolithic structure of the bliss gets converted into three different manifestations of three different qualities or structures, which is called as Satchidanand. After that, in the fourth phase, in the anaphase, it becomes very, very clear, with a clear manifestation of three different qualities appearing within the foundation of that Brahman, which is called Sat, Chid, and Anand. So initially it was homogeneous. Now it is no more homogeneous. It has manifested into three different forms now. Sat, Chid, and Anand. Clear distinction. Same as anaphase. Clear distinction. Clear separation. Now let's go to the next one. What happened after that? After that, the Brahman in the anaphase, the Brahman manifested the platform on which he creates the cosmos, because he needs some platform on the basis of which he will gather the raw materials, he will produce the raw materials, he will intermingle those raw materials, and ultimately build the cosmos out of it. That platform on the basis of which these raw materials are gathered, they are intermingled with each other to form the structure of the cosmos, is called as Akshar Brahman. And we really start to see that Akshar Brahman, the phenomena of Akshar Brahman being formed in the fourth phase itself. But it is not very evident in the fourth phase. It gets really, really evident in the fifth phase, which is called as telophase. The fifth phase, basically, the Brahman really expresses himself into creator and the creation, the relisher and being relished, the one who enjoys and the one that is being enjoyed. Clearly two different distinctions between the creator and the creation. The Brahman manifests itself into two different forms very clearly, which is creator form and a creation form. The relisher form and the one being relished form. The enjoyer form and the one being enjoyed form. Clearly two distinct things are coming out in the fifth phase, which is Akshar Brahman, which is the basis of the formation of the cosmos, which is being relished, and the relisher, which is the Brahman itself. So Brahman is trying to relish his own creation. So there's a clear distinction between creation, which is Akshar Brahman, and the creator, which is himself. And that is conveyed by Shruti, called as Patishcha Patnicha Bhavatam. Patishcha Patnicha means, Pati means relisher, Patni means the one being relished. So this shouldn't be taken as a gender, by the way. Pati or Patni shouldn't be taken in the form of gender, by the way. Pati means the one who is the enjoyer. Patni means the one being enjoyed. That is the real meaning of the Shruti. But anyhow, so the Brahman manifests itself into the creation. But for it to create, it has to build the basis for where it would be creating the creation, the cosmos, which is called as Akshar Brahman. And within that Akshar Brahman, the Brahman starts manifesting itself into time, consciousness, matter, action, or we call it as kinetic energy, and Sobha, which we also can call it as potential energy or static energy. So the Brahman now manifests itself into a platform on the basis of which we are going to start creating the cosmos, which is called as Akshar Brahman, and it manifests four facets of the Akshar Brahman, which is time, consciousness, matter, static energy, and kinetic energy or action. 5 elements clearly gets manifested with the clear names, forms and functions, which is exactly same as the telophase of the cellular division process, as you can see in this diagram. The telophase shows that there is really now a formation of two distinct nucleus. You can see there in the diagram itself, there are two clear different nucleus being formed, which is Patishcha Patnicha Bhavatam. You see, so now there are two clear entities being created. Two nucleus, which is one nucleus is representing the Patni and another nucleus representing the Pati part of it. Again, I'm not saying in terms of the gender, by the way. But you can kind of really understand the parallelism that I'm trying to show here and kind of help you understand the process for the ease of the understanding. I'm just taking an example of a cellular division process, by the way. By no means you should try to conclude that this is exactly the pattern that Brahman also follows. So just make sure that you understand these disclaimers. Anyhow, so let's proceed further. So the now Brahman has the platform on which it creates the raw materials, and it starts building the cosmos using these raw materials. The raw materials are time, swabhav, or karma, kal, swabhav, prakriti, purush. We call it as time, consciousness, matter, kinetic energy, and static energy, with a clear distinction. Great. What happens after that? Then the last phase comes. The Brahman now creates the final products out of these raw materials. And the final products are Jad and Jeev, the sentient and insentient objects, the sophistication of the sentient objects, different complex structures, including Prithvi, Tej, Vayu, Man, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar, Panchatan Matra, and etc. etc. The list goes on and on and on. Right? All of those sophisticated structures, sophisticated complex structures come into the existence, including the Jeev, including us, souls. So Jeev and Jad now clearly manifests in the Akshar Brahman, with a clear distinction between that Brahman and Jad, Brahman and Jeev. Clear distinction starts forming up. And again, please take into consideration, please mind it, that all of these distinctions that I have gone through, and whatever distinctions that I'm going to talk about, is not to be taken in an absolute sense. They are not absolute sense. They're not in an absolute sense. They're not absolutely different from each other. Again, Vallabhacharyaji's Vedanta is the Vedanta of the identity, wherein Brahman has taken the form of Jad, Brahman has taken the form of Jeev, and raw material also it is the same Brahman responsible in creating the Jad and Jeev. The only difference is in the manifestation and manifestation of the bliss and manifestation of consciousness in Jad and Jeev. That is the only difference. There is no absolute absence of bliss anywhere, because everything, all this cosmic creation happens within the Brahman, not outside of Brahman. The cosmic creation, although it happens in Brahman, it does not mean that things are kind of like things are being absolutely different from Brahman, because we don't consider it as an absolute absence of things. The Vallabhacharya's Vedanta says nothing is absolutely absence from anything, because everything is Brahmatmak, everything is Brahman, same as all ornaments are of gold. There is no absence of gold in the ornaments if it is made out of gold. Exactly the same way you should understand all these dualities which I am presenting here as part of the biological cell division. So just again a disclaimer so that you understand in a better way. Anyhow, so the Brahman now has clearly formed two distinct forms. Patishcha Patnicha Abhavatam. Clear distinction with Akshar Brahman, which is a cosmos, and clear distinction of the governing the cosmos, which is the avatar of Bhagavan. So the entity that governs the cosmos, the entity that governs the Akshar Brahman, is called as avatar, Bhagavad avatar. Like Narayan has many different avatars, including Varah, Balabhadra, Kalaki, etc., etc. There are avatars who comes on a time-to-time basis into the Akshar Brahman, and then is responsible for kind of making sure that the Akshar Brahman is in an equilibrium state, and protects the Akshar Brahman. So we clearly see the two distinct part of the Brahman getting evolved here, which is the Akshar Brahman, which is a cosmos, and the avatars of that Parabrahman, who takes time to time the avatar in the Akshar Brahman to uplift the people in the Akshar Brahman or in the cosmos. So there's two clear, distinct, self-replicated forms in the form of Pati and Patni, the enjoyer and the one being enjoyed. The two distinct form of enjoyer and being enjoyed, the relisher and the being relished, the active and the passive, the dominating part and non-dominating part. All of these dimensions with both types are being very evident and being manifested in the sixth phase of the cellular division. Specifically, when we go to this biological cellular division, it ends with cytokinesis. It ends with cytokinesis means the cytoplasm also gets divided into two different entities. Two different cellular structures are formed at the end of the division process, which is the sixth phase. Exactly the same way, Akshar Brahman is manifested clearly. The cosmos within the Akshar Brahman is formed clearly. And the avatars are also are being formed with a very clear distinction from the Akshar Brahman. Sometimes these avatars are infinitely blissful. Akshar Brahman is not infinitely blissful. So there is a different type of duality. But what I'm trying to say is how far the cellular division process matches with what has been described in the scriptural texts about the cosmic creation from the Brahman. So just to summarize, it's very interesting to see that it closely matches, although not exactly, but it very closely matches. The cellular division process very, very closely matches with what the Taittiriya Upanishad and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad has to say about the cosmic creation, which is so kamayat, sa ekaki naramate, sadvitiyam aikshat, sa atmanam dvedha patayat, patischa patnicha bhavatam. Same way, a cell goes through an interphase where it is an equilibrium state. Then the cell creates the internal tension through the spindle fibers to start self-replicating. Then the cell goes into the metaphase, which consists of creating a greater pulling force to start pulling the chromosomes part of the nucleus part of the cell to start self-replication within the nucleus. Then it goes to the anaphase, which basically splits apart the chromosomes within the nucleus, and then to the telophase phase, where it clearly distinguishes between two different nucleus and ultimately to differentiate between the two cells having its own cytoplasm. Same way, the Brahman also goes through the similar process, starting with a monolithic, homogeneous, complex, blissful structure in an equilibrium state, and then it desired to become one to many because he wanted to enjoy his own bliss, and because of that it started manifesting three different aspects within the blissful form, which is Satchid Anand, and then eventually it started to manifest into clearly three distinct forms of Satchid Anand to form an Akshar Brahman, which basically is the platform on which the Brahman creates or self-replicates itself or creates the cosmos. And then it starts manifesting the Akshar Brahman starts manifesting into 5 different aspects or facets, which is time, consciousness, matter, kinetic energy, and potential energy. And then ultimately the cosmos creation ends up with clear distinction between the cosmos, which is the Akshar Brahman, and the avatars that takes form, that comes down, descends upon the Akshar Brahman to uplift the people of that Akshar Brahman with a clear distinction of the bliss, because avatar may bear infinite bliss while Akshar Brahman has a limited bliss. Exact or more or less similar parallel things going on with the cellular division process. I hope this was useful. We can spare about 5 5 to 10 minutes on taking questions. I hope this was useful. Again, I hope that this would have helped you. I hope this would have helped you understanding how the cosmic creation happens by the Brahman, from the Brahman, within the Brahman. And I hope this helps the Vallabha Vedanta philosophy. Again, please don't take it in a literal sense when I compare it with a materialistic phenomena like a cellular division process. It's just a means to ease your understanding. It's just a way so that you all and we all can understand this metaphysical and Vedic philosophy in a better way. I'm open to taking questions if you have any. Please feel free to type in into comment sections, please. All right, any questions? Any questions? Woo! I thought it was too much for you guys, isn't it? All right, no questions? Whoa. Either I did a horrible job explaining this concept or I did an excellent job in explaining this concept. All right, I see a question. All right, that's assuring. All right, Mahat Tattva and Akshar Brahman might be close by. Yeah, so Akshar Brahman is the platform in which the causal materials or the raw materials intermingle it's on it itself and then creates the effects, and Mahat Tattva is considered as a part of the effects, or you can say Mahat Tattva is the blueprint of the cosmos. So in order to form the blueprint of the cosmos, you need a platform in which you can host these raw materials to form the blueprint, and that platform is Akshar Brahman. So Akshar Brahman has to come into existence before Mahat Tattva. But yes, Mahat Tattva or the blueprint of the cosmos happens within the Akshar Brahman. Yes. All right. So what you're saying is, I mean on the case of Patishcha Patnishcha. Oh, yeah, you can say that. Like there are so many different types of Patishcha Patnicha. Mahat Tattva could be... Mahat Tattva is actually the child of Pati and Patni, by the way. Pati is, you can say, Pati is Purush, part of the Akshar Brahman, and Patni is the Prakriti or the matter part of the Brahman. So when Prakriti and Purush intermingles, it creates the Mahat Tattva as the child. So you can say Mahat Tattva is the product of Pati and Patni. I hope that makes sense. Yeah? Noted. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So it's between 5 and 6 as 5.5. Sure, you can say that. Yeah, 5.5. See, again, I'm not trying to kind of make a watertight compartment by showing only 6 phases, by the way. This just for your ease of understanding. There could be infinite number of phases in the cosmic creation. We're just trying to make it simpler for all of us to comprehend that. So that's the whole objective. But yeah. All right. Priyan has a question here. Does the 6th phase represent Parabrahman composing avatars and Akshar Brahman? But we say that Krishna is Parabrahman. So is he the orange part or the yellow? That's an excellent question. Very good question. Good catch, Priyan. Very well thought, by the way, also. So yeah, well, what I wanted to show or represent in the 6th phase was that there's a distinction between the phenomena that is being governed, which is Akshar Brahman, and the phenomena that is governing the Akshar Brahman. So the governing phenomena and the one being governed. There are 2 clear distinctions between it, which is again a Patishcha and a Patnishcha Bhavatam. Right. So that's why I took the concept of avatar, because they are the governing bodies. They are not governed by Akshar Brahman. They are not governed by the law of Prakriti and Purush. Avatars are completely independent. They transcend the laws of Akshar Brahman. And so that's exactly why I showed them in a different form. if that makes sense. Now, coming to your second part of it, which is Krishna is Parabrahman, so is he the orange part or the yellow part? Actually, Krishna is everything to start with, because Krishna is Parabrahman. So nothing is outside of Krishna in this diagram, in any of these diagrams, by the way. But if you're talking about the specific form of Krishna, which is Purushottam, then the Purushottam could fall, the Purushottam, basically I have not shown that Purushottam here in the diagram, but the Purushottam will be, if I were to create a diagram of Purushottam somewhere in the sixth phase, I would place the form of Purushottam within Akshar Brahman. Because Akshar Brahman is a cosmic form also, and Akshar Brahman is the abode of Purushottam. Akshar Brahman has two forms, which I have not shown in this diagram. I have only shown one form of Akshar Brahman, which is cosmic form. The other form of Akshar Brahman is also abode of the God. It's a residing place for Purushottam, which we call it as Dham and Dhami. Dham and Dhami relationship. Akshar Brahman is Dham, the residing place, the residence of the Purushottam, or the location of the Purushottam. Because again, Brahman has expanded itself into the Akshar Brahman, and then Purushottam hops onto that Akshar Brahman on that location and does the Leela. So Purushottam will be on the diagram, on the Akshar Brahman, on the location of Akshar Brahman, that way. Not that I'm trying to say that Purushottam is smaller than Akshar Brahman. That's absolutely not the message that I'm trying to convey. It's basically the opposite. But anyhow, the Purushottam will come on the Akshar Brahman if we are talking about Dham and Dhami relationship. Akshar Brahman is the abode or the Dham, and Purushottam sits on that Akshar Brahman. Same way in our Seva also, right? When we do the Seva of Krishna, when we place Krishna on the Singhasan, when we offer him Singhasan, the Singhasan is the Akshar Brahman on which Krishna sits. Right? Same way. Because Singhasan is the location, and the one that is sitting on that Singhasan is the Purushottam. The same way, same relationship also exists between the Akshar Brahman and the Purushottam. So I have not shown it, but we could show in that way also. And that same Krishna is also avatar also. Because sometimes Krishna also takes the avatar as in different kalp, including Saraswat kalp, with the Purna Purushottama avatar. So you can also place Krishna in the avatars section as well, as a Purna avatar. And definitely Krishna is Parabrahman, so you can also place Krishna in the yellow section also. So all three sections are possible to place in. I hope that answers your question. Alrighty. Any more questions? Good questions, but very less questions. I want more questions. Alright. No other questions? So Akshar Brahman is inside Parabrahman, but Purushottam is residing in Akshar. Yes, exactly. This is the Viruddha Dharmashrayatva of our Purushottam. Yes, it is the same Krishna who is the Parabrahman, who is shown in the yellow diagram or yellow color in the diagram, and then the same Krishna manifests itself into Akshar Brahman and makes it as an abode, and then sits on the top of that Akshar Brahman as well. So it's the same Krishna who acts as the base, who acts as the person sitting on that base, and who is everything, including the base and the location and the loci, both. So yes. Seems like contradicting, but yes, I mean that's how the Brahman is in as per Vallabha Vedanta, which is Viruddha Dharmashrayatva. Yes. All right. I hope that explains. Okay, you understood? Okay, cool. All right, I think we have 1 more minute to go and then we can conclude the session here. Let's see if I have any questions. Any other questions? All right, I hope this session was useful and good questions. Thank you for joining. And badhai to everyone for today's Utsav. And we'll come back with a new interesting topic for you all. Thank you very much. Jai Shri Krishna. Bye all.